So I want to bring him right on. Let me make sure I have his microphone working before I introduce him. But this is Congressman or State Representative Clem Smith, and he's from Missouri. There's a lot about him that I think we should all know. But I wanted to say at the top that you have officially endorsed Bernie Sanders, and we have a very large Bernie Sanders crowd. So we want to welcome you to the Benjamin Dixon Show. How are you today, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you loudly and clearly. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your seat and everything that's happening in Missouri for you.
All right. Well, I represent the 85th district in St. Louis County, so it's part of the metro region here in St. Louis. I've been in office about it's my 6th year,
Okay.
So 3rd term right now. Kind of humble beginnings, and I was a young guy with an opinion who started working on different campaigns, and then from there it kind of led me to running for office in an open seat. And I've been here, and people have kept reelecting me, and I've gotten to this point.
What is the intervals for your race? Is it every 2 years for your race?
Yes, yeah. We have 2-year terms, so I'm up this year.
You're up this year. Anybody? Is it your seat? Is there? Do we need a stump for you? What's going on for your race?
Well, yeah. It's the people's seat, but this year I've actually got a Republican challenger. So I don't think that's ever happened in this area. I think some folks think they can ride this Republican wave on in, but I've got to run the campaign like any other campaign, and take the threat serious.
Okay, absolutely. So then I brought you on to talk about the black vote and Bernie Sanders and all those things. But before we're done, we want to definitely talk about your race as well.
Okay, good deal. No, and I thank you for reaching out. I had an opportunity to listen to some of your other shows, some clips from the other shows. So this is I must admit, wasn't really on my radar before, but is now. I mean, you touch upon some topics, and you've got a pretty great following. But yeah, I did come out and endorse Senator Sanders not too long ago. To me, he was the only candidate speaking to issues that would impact or do currently impact my community, and I had to go with him.
Absolutely, and that's the thing for me, man. Do you mind if I call you Clem, or do you go?
Yeah, that's fine. I was gonna say that. Yeah, I'm Clem first. When I announce myself, I never say I'm State Representative Clem Smith. Most of the time, 99% of the time, I'm Clem Smith, and I happen to represent the fine folks of the 85th district. So yeah, I'm a real down to earth.
Because I'm gonna tell you for real. I got a cousin named Clem. So when I saw Clem, I'm like, all right, I gotta call this brother Clem. All right, so let's talk about Bernie Sanders. Let's talk about why you endorsed him, and why it's significant, because there's so many this pervasive narrative that Bernie Sanders has a race problem, and that Bernie Sanders is not good on race, and that Hillary Clinton is so much better on race. And so every time that there is you probably get tired of it by now, but every time that there's a black person who comes out of significance that endorses Bernie Sanders, it makes the news, right? Because everyone thinks it's such a huge deal. But like you said, you feel like he speaks to the issues for your community. Unpack that a little bit more, and how in comparison to the narrative that's been woven about Bernie Sanders.
Right, and I think it's because Secretary Clinton has been running for this office since her forever, pretty much since her husband, former President Bill Clinton, was in office. So I think she had a hell of a head start on everyone. And I think a lot of black folks think of the good times, and it may have been during the Clinton administration. So they associate them doing good, possibly financially or whatever, with Clinton. And because she was the wife, she's kind of getting some of that shine. So whether it was, I tend to think no matter who like the Democratic president was during those years, it would have been a good time. And then that person would have been associated with, hey, I was doing good, my community was doing better. So she's picking up on a lot of that stuff. And black people were just used to the name. It was kind of name ID. They were used to Clinton name. Here you have a senator out of Vermont. That's a lot of brothers and sisters don't even know where Vermont is or what comes out of Vermont. And so they're unfamiliar with them. But the more they do the homework, and they look into what he's been doing for the past X amount of years, like since '84, I guess, then they'll understand, like, I mean, this guy's been consistent with his message since day one, since since the March on Washington. It's been consistent, not pandering because the camera's there. It's been consistent, and that's what drove me. One of the reasons which drove me to listen to him and to the campaign. There was a video I saw one time, and I think it was, or maybe it was on the crime bill they were talking about, but he just started kind of laying into this is what's going to happen if we pass this bill. I know there were some provisions in there that did other things, but talking about the super predator component and all that stuff that got like a third of the brothers that's locked up in jail attributed, you know,
we should laugh about that, but I understand though. I got you,
man. I mean, I hate to laugh at it, but you know, once you start looking at the history of some of those initiatives that were pushed by the Clinton administration, you'll see like, damn, this is what happened to my community. So not to be just kind of like anti-her, but it was the things he was saying and the things he was working for with the healthcare issue, with the education issue, with civil rights. And I'm like, hey, this is a natural fit. But what the media is not saying, mass media is not saying, there's a lot of Black people who are supporting him. Now, you've got a lot of politicians and preachers that may be on the Hillary Kool-Aid, but you've got a whole lot of regular rank and file Black folks who, once they start looking at the issue, they're like, nah, I can't get with that. But I'd rather go with consistency and somebody who's been saying this since day one.
Dude, all right. Listen, I got to segue. I'm coming to Missouri, and when I come to Missouri, dude, we got to hang out. We got to hang out. You know, hey, I recognize good people, man. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about Bernie Sanders and the Black community and the Black vote. The one thing that frustrates me the most, man, and I might as well say this while you're on here, and because I'm going to say it to the audience later, is I get headaches. I hate having to argue with my people and all of you. Everybody's my people, you know, Black, white, everything. But I'm talking about people who identify with the African-American struggle, people who've been in the African-American struggle, Black folks from around the way. I'm getting really tired with having to argue with them about Bernie Sanders and Hillary, because I feel like it's put me at odds with people who I otherwise agree with. But when they forward these narratives about Bernie Sanders having a race problem or being a person who's committing microaggressions, or he doesn't understand race, or he's not sensitive, is what your boy from New York, Russell Simmons, said. He's not sensitive to race. When you see people spinning these lies, you know, it makes you have to speak truth, even against people that you otherwise would go and go and hang out with, right? What have you run into since you've endorsed Bernie Sanders with regard to the Black community and the Democratic establishment? What have you faced since you've endorsed Bernie Sanders?
So with the Democratic establishment, not that someone showed up at my door with a bat, but it was almost strongly suggested they wanted all of the Democrats in the House to kind of sign on with the Clinton campaign early on. And I'm like, nah, I don't operate like that, you know. I get it odds with the Democratic Party on a lot of the diversity issues, just a lot of things here in this state. Now it's ran. So at first it was like, hey, you know, somehow I got added. Like I've got like a super duper private personal email account, and I started to get emails from the Clinton campaign on that. Like, what's going on? They added me to like the African American special, like the Negro email list or whatever it was. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? What's going on with it? I want my message to be the same as everybody else's message. You don't have to say nothing special.
Background of my message. Yeah, go for it, man.
Yeah. So it was that at first. It was like some little subtle stuff because a lot of people here in the state had come out for him. So with me, once I endorsed, there was actually people in the community coming out like they're surprised, and they were like, I'm on board too. Like I have not gotten any backlash from the regular constituents in my community, but I've heard a thing or two from politicians or other elected officials about my endorsement, saying like, why'd you do that? He's too old. What the hell? You know, that's like when they were saying President Obama, he's Black. He's not going to go. But what I've learned today in a discussion is the same folks that were Hillary people before are now. I mean, they never were Obama people until he dusted her off and they had to go with it. But before they didn't believe. Ain't no brother be president. You know, they were still thinking like this was 1820 or something like that. And I can't get with that. I can't get with that plantation mindset of and this is something that this is how I talk all the time. So
I love it. I love it. Don't stop.
It's called, what did I call it? It was like this is a term that I've heard before. Oh, the Clintons, they take care of they black folks. Like, what the hell? Where are we at the Candyland plantation? What is going on with this take care of they black folks? And when I started to look at, it was a lot of individuals who thought that they were going to be promised something, right, or they would get something by getting on board with the Clinton campaign, some appointment. I'm starting thinking it ain't enough jobs to go around. Absolutely. For all of y'all in the state we're in, which is a red state. I hope you all know after March 15th, which is our voting date, everything's about to dry up in the state.
Right.
So all of the promises you think were coming to you wasn't the case. And I'm a independent thinker. You know, it's community first. I did not get into politics for personal gain. Right. Matter of fact, I took a pay cut doing it. I do it because I love it, and I do it because I think the people who are working class like me need a voice at the table. But you know, I heard some things. Nobody could ever come up with an argument that was like valid, because I would ask the question, then they would turn around and say, this is what would happen. They would want to associate Hillary Clinton with all the so-called good things that happened with Bill Clinton. But with the bad stuff, they tried to separate it. And I said, no, it doesn't work that way. If you're gonna eat the sandwich, you're gonna eat the sandwich. You can't take the cheese off and say, well, no, that's not good, and we can't do that. But every time they would turn around and say, well, what has Bernie done? I'm like, you just haven't heard from him. I start sending people links, start showing legislation that he was going for, and the things that his campaign stands for. And I say, that's right in line with our community. Yes. But you all are so used to the Clintons, and you drunk the Kool-Aid, and you all in now. It's too late for you to turn around.
It's too late. And that's the thing, man, Clem. That's the thing that drives me batty.